All right, right back up in you. YouTubers, war media supporters, and fans everywhere. This is the Running with War show. Kyle Means here. Got my peoples with me. Drew Stevens back after a bit of a hiatus. Been about a month or so, man, since he's been on the show. I don't know what he's been doing, but I guess Juneteenth has passed, so he's done enough celebrating for now. So, but Joshua M. Hicks is in the building as well once again, and our guest here, a good friend, first time runner, but a guy me and Josh have known for a little bit now. Hung out with us back in the 2020, back in the before times, the All Star game here in Chicago. Definitely made an impact over there at that time, but is doing it, man, doing some really cool things out there, writing and interviewing a lot of cool people in sports and entertainment world. Is you've seen his byline in quite a few places from Forbes, Heavy.com, was it 137, the Gary Vucic endeavor. He's been doing it, but he's here right now with us. Like I say, first time runner and doing his thing. Landon Buford, please welcome him to the show. And tonight we're gonna just get back to it. We was gonna do the show on Friday, but pushed it back to Monday. So appreciate you hanging in with us, Landon. But we want to, Landon's based in Texas and everything. So he's done quite a bit of coverage over the years on the Dallas Mavericks and such. So I want to get him to talk about the kind of wildness that's going on there right now and how things are breaking down. Their coach lost it with a GM, and a lot of changes that are going on. It seems like only one man is standing in the end, Luka Doncic, and I don't know if that's going to be for the best or worst, but when you look at what Dallas is trying to form right now, it seemed for a second that they was going to be one of those, young teams that could have jumped up and took an opportunity for themselves in this postseason. But what we've gotten in the meantime has been Phoenix really being that next team to become a problem out there in the West. And now they're forming, they formed a 1-0 lead in the Western Conference Finals, battling the Clippers, who we've, for a while now, we've been having these expectations for. They got a couple years ago, got together their big two with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, and it's interesting now. Kawhi dealing with injuries again, but the team didn't need him to close out Utah, and they. Paul George he's showing that playoff PG level now that we've all wanted to see from him, and for years now. But he's, even though the Clippers didn't pull out that win in Game 1 on Sunday, Paul definitely showed up again. So you got that going already, the Western Conference. And over the weekend, the Eastern Conference Finals set up. 2 great Game 7s played. Milwaukee knocks off Brooklyn in Brooklyn. Really a classic game there on Saturday. And a pretty good Game 7 as well in Philly. A good effort by the 76ers. You thought they would have the advantage at home, but Joel Embiid came to play. Some of the other guys came to play, but one guy didn't come to play, and he's really getting a lot of heat right now. I think you all know what I'm talking about. But I don't know, guys. We just will go around the horn right here, man. Starting off, what sort of sticking out for you guys? What's been the main what's the main storylines for you guys that's really making you think as we get into these Eastern and Western Conference Final Series?
As a guy that's probably, for one reason or another, not seen as much as you other three gentlemen probably have, let me just kick it off by saying that I'm excited. Going into the season or coming into the playoffs, I had in my mind that we were going to see the Lakers and Brooklyn match up. And I was like, okay, well, maybe we'll get Brooklyn and the Clippers. But now that we have the 4 teams that we have now, I'm just as excited because, I don't know what way it's going to go. As you alluded to, the Hawks beating the 76ers. Who saw that coming? I actually picked the Knicks to knock them off in the first round. So you see how my predictions are going. What's that, like 0 for 3 so far that I just mentioned? So I'm just excited, man. I'm excited to see what's going to happen. I think it's nice that we've got some new blood here kind of vying for the championship in a league that's kind of been dominated by the same team, same stars so recently. So I'm just looking forward to it, man. See how it shakes out.
Definitely new blood this year. And when you look at all these franchises, I kind of ran over these franchises and the ones that were still left last week. Like none of them have really had recent success this deep in the postseason. You look at a franchise like the Clippers, they've never had this level of success. They've never been to this level of the playoffs. So yeah, we're getting to see some new people raise up, individuals. You got a couple of older faces, but really the most established faces left in the playoffs are they're still sort of up in the air health wise. We talk about Kawhi and Chris Paul, so we don't know how much of an impact they're truly going to have in these remaining 2 rounds. So it's going to be interesting. You got the pressure on the other side going to the East. You got the pressure on Giannis to perform, and he's lived up to it so far. But let's see what he'll do against the Hawks. And you got Trae Young, who just seems to really be bloodthirsty out there right now, looking to establish himself as a new playoff figure, one of those ice cold killers in the playoffs. So yeah, we still got a lot of story here. And I think if you're into this, if you're really into the league and its players, there's not a lack of things to be interested in. You got these people out here who talk about what the ratings are going to be. I don't give a damn about the ratings, man. I'm not a network executive, so you could miss me with all that. I want to see the people who win these series go on and face each other. That's what I want to see. The people who earn these opportunities, let's make them into these stars that we know that they are.
Oh yeah, most definitely. I agree. And and to piggyback off of what Drew said, I like how the new blood is shining in the newest moments, especially when you're talking about Ice Trae, because Ice Trae is my light skinned brother from another mother. So I gotta love to the ATL and that. But
hey, Jack, it got even more light skinned with Herder.
He did. He pushed that red-handed brother pushed it to another level, man. He shocked me. He shocked me in that game.
But they needed Herder less today, man.
Yeah, but that's the thing. That Trae Young's leadership combined with Nate McMillan's leadership and the way he's really prepared this team has really taken this team to another level that even in the offseason, we knew that they were a playoff team with the signings that they have. But to come back and play at the level that they're playing to where they're an actual Eastern Conference Finals team. Yeah, like Drew mentioned, that was unexpected. And that just shows you the impact that Nate McMillan had. The boldness of the front office to even make that move in the middle of the season in the way that they did to remove Lloyd Pierce and bring in Nate McMillan, while also giving Trae Young the platform to beat Ice Trae at the most biggest stages and the biggest moments ever. This is a historical season for the Atlanta Hawks that, quite frankly, will be. I love it, and I think will be great for the NBA, especially as they continue to, develop the young talent that's already there. Because we're not even talking about the Cam Reddishes. We're not even talking about the DeAndre Hunters who unfortunately got hurt throughout the playoffs and didn't get to play in this past series. So they still got talent out there that that's young and still developing and thriving. With the young Trae Young and a superstar at the superstar level, man, the sky's the limit for the Hawks, and I'm glad that they were able to display that in the Eastern Conference Finals. But when you talk about Phoenix, and more specifically, in my eyes, comparable to a Kobe 2.0 and Devin Booker, what I think we all knew that he had the skill set to pretty much put on a show at any given moment in time. But for him to finally get to the playoffs where he is now with Chris Paul, and for him to take advantage of the opportunity that was in front of him to pretty much take this Phoenix Suns team to another level with Chris Paul being out in that game one, I think you saw really the impact that Chris Paul had on him, not just because we know Devin Booker is a hell of a scorer, but the way he facilitated for others, the way he impacted the game in different levels, to come up with a 40-point triple-double when Chris Paul's not there. That's huge for the Suns team, especially a young roster like the Suns, who have the Mikal Bridges and the Cameron Johnsons and the DeAndre Aidens that are developing at such a high rate under Monty Williams. That Chris Paul impact is there on and off the court, and Monty Williams and James Jones, for them to get Coach of the Year, Executive of the Year, you see the impact that they're having on this Suns team, and D Book is just to another level. And to see that and see what Trae's doing on both and within both conferences, the future's bright, man. The future's bright.
Yeah, you mentioned Monty Williams and James Jones and the authority that these brothers are having in the league right now. Ex-players and black men, and we got 3 of the 4 coaches in this remaining in the playoffs are black and former players at that. So I think it should tell the league something about their hiring practices and who they're looking at and not looking at, for these jobs. They should, take note, as far as that goes. But, Landon, man, let's get you in. Josh talked about Booker and the way, the great way he stepped up with the 40 points and the triple-double on Sunday. And, what anybody, is it Booker or is it anybody else who really has grabbed your attention in this postseason? Who would you say is really, remaining out, be it individuals or teams, has really grabbed your attention and made you, sort of fall in line with what they're doing in this postseason?
Well, considering the way that the Hawks began their season and the dysfunction, all the infighting that they had in the locker room with Trae and LP and Collins asking to be traded at the beginning of the season, you would have thought that they wouldn't even have made the playoffs. You know what I mean? Now, they made the playoffs. They're gonna probably get past the Knicks. Philly's gonna take care of them in 5 or 6 games, and then we're gonna go into the into the Eastern Conference Finals. Clearly, none of that happened. Atlanta took care of business. Obviously, Ben Simmons, affected the game elsewhere, but when it counted as far as points go and becoming a liability from the free throw line to him not even wanting to shoot in last night's game before they were eliminated. You can't script that stuff up. Booker, you thought Phoenix was going to be maybe a top 4, top 5 team. You know what I mean? Top 6 without Chris Paul, right? Possibly, right? This year, they're number 2 seed. At one point, they were the number 1 seed. Obviously, they're in the Western Conference Finals this year. They have a legit shot to win. They're already, Stephen A. Smith is just like Josh said, Devin Booker, Kobe 2.0. Magic was on First Take earlier this morning, and Stephen A. Smith just dubbed him the next Kobe. I know other people came in and said that Booker's trying to be himself, being the next only Booker. But I mean, of course, people are going to compare Booker to Kobe because that's his mentor. But he's actually starting to show that. I wrote a piece about that earlier today. About that, scenario. But Booker surprised me this season. He's obviously stepped up. Chris Paul's out with COVID. who would have thought that would have happened? I mean, I'm hoping all the people that were around him that he was hugging after the game, the closeout game against who were they playing? Against Denver.
Yeah.
Against Denver, if they're okay. But he should be what if he misses game 2, then he'll be ready for game 3. And they're now that they have the 1-game lead, and I don't see them possibly losing game 2, but we'll see what happens. They're now playing with house money until Chris Paul can get back.
Who y'all think could do the best without their top guy in that series? Phoenix or Clippers? Like if one of them had to do without their top guy, who do you think would do the best?
Well, the Clippers are actually showing it because Kawhi's been out. People like Reggie Jackson have showed up. Obviously, Devin Booker, I don't want to say played out of his mind because he's given us 70 points in big games before. So, I mean, it kind of feels like that they're both doing it. I mean, I guess I feel like Phoenix can't do that the whole series without Chris Paul, but the Clippers are going to probably have to do it without Kawhi because if it's an ACL, that means he's going to be out for the season. But they haven't announced that that's the particular injury. But somebody said it could be an ACL, and if that's the case, he's done for the remainder of the playoffs.
With that said, what are y'all thoughts on PG and how he's really stepped up. When you look at the way that he's played the past week, compare that to the way that he was called on to play in the bubble last year, and he really just was, not there. He was not all there. People was arguing about his mental capacities at that time, but this year he's been sort of steely out there. He's not. He's come through with the performances that has been needed from the team to take down Utah. A tough number one. They weren't a number 1 seed that I would say was the most intimidating number 1 seed ever, but they're still a very good team. They had to do without Donovan Mitchell at key points, but they still had a nice balanced team with a good home court advantage. I would say their crowds came pumped to their games, but the Clippers never really seemed fazed by that. And when they came to them finishing off that team at home, they really, they overcame big deficits in that series, and it just was. I'm like I said, I'm giving it up for Paul George in that manner. I mean, I don't know if any of y'all would have joined me, but I know the playoff P stuff is fun to make fun of. But like I said, he's been doing it.
Yeah, no, I definitely partook in that, man. The memes of him shooting that corner 3 off the side of the backboard,
the
bubble last season. But I'm glad to see where he is right now. It kind of reminds me of LeBron when that first season in Miami, where he was trying to kind of play up himself as the villain. He struggled mightily in that final series against Dallas, and he came back and he just seemed to kind of relax, kind of exhale, tune everything out, and that seems to be what Paul George is doing now. I tweeted that was it game 6 against Dallas that I needed to see the Paul George that kind of made a name for himself in Indiana. And I feel like ever since that game, ever since Kawhi went down, like you guys have said, this guy has looked the part. He's played every bit as well as he has his whole career. He looks like a leader out on the floor. Of course, they got a big boost, like Landon said, from Reggie Jackson, Terrence Mann playing out of his mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I'm happy for Paul George. It's hard. As much ribbing as we give him or have given him, it's hard not to root for him. He's just so smooth, so talented that it had to be only a matter of time before he figured it out.
Yeah, the playoff Pete thing was just another instance of how wrong-headed it is to give yourself a nickname. You don't give yourself a nickname. You got to let people give you a nickname. So it was easy to jump on him for that. But he still is, like I said, Drew. He's got a record of some pretty good performances in the playoffs, going back to like, was it 2013? When he was battling LeBron and them in those those Heat teams. He was like the last line of defense in the East a couple of years. Him in Indiana. So he has the big injury in the summer. I think that was the summer of 14, and had to come back from that, and he reinvents. Hops a couple of teams, reinvents himself. I think that's what the playoff Pete thing was sort of about. It was sort of him like asserting himself and saying, yeah, look at me. I'm one of these dudes out here too. But, like I said, we just didn't buy it at first. He had to come through with the performances to back him up. And it's gotten to, he's just gotten to that point this year where that's happened. So, if he can keep that up and get a Western Conference title or even an NBA title for the Clippers, that'll be the big feather in his cap. But Drew, you mentioned that first year of Miami, that big three, and to sort of take it back to the East now, Josh, I want to get your thoughts on this. Like, as we look at the teams we're leaving behind, that Nets team, very close to knocking off the Bucks. Of course, we know how close. Some would say it was as close as a half a shoe size on Durant. For them, him hitting that shot at the end of regulation, and that just that much was on the line. And instead of getting the 2 instead of the 3, but in the end, overall, you have this amazingly built team, a three. Big three in every sense of the form, but they don't make it. For me, I think there is some parallels to that first Miami team. Would you say that that's the case?
I don't know, to be honest with you. And the reason why I say that is because when you look at the Miami's big three, their biggest problem was they had the wrong person leading the movement. Because the first year, it was D-Wade's show. D-Wade was the guy. He's the franchise guy. Everything's going to flow through him. But it didn't get – and LeBron playing the second option or learning to play that second option, they had their struggles throughout the year. But when it came to the big moments in the playoffs, especially in that final series, LeBron flaked. He just wasn't there. And then that's when D-Wade officially had to realize that, you know what, I have to be the Batman now. I have to be the Robin. LeBron has to be Batman. And when that shifted, it just opened up the floodgates. I think in this team, we couldn't really figure out who was really the Batman that much because they didn't play that much together. Even though you're right from a big perspective, I think they knew Kevin Durant was the guy, but at the same time, for them to play together per se, they don't have much experience with that. They only played, I think, 8 regular season games together.
Yeah.
And after that, even in the playoffs, James Harden was hurt. Kyrie gets hurt. You don't know how far this team would have went with that big three if all of them were healthy, especially within that first season. At least in that first year, you had LeBron James and D-Wade and Chris Bosh healthy. So the judgment was a little different than this current year is right now. So I think if we give another year of it with them fully healthy, we can actually see the parallels of maybe that championship, era with the Miami Heat versus the Brooklyn Nets with this big three era.
The one thing I'll push back on with that is that was a good response though. But one thing I will push back, and I'm borrowing a little bit from Stephen A. because I saw his segment too on First Take. He said that the number one reason why they lost is karma, and it goes and he's dating the karma back to how Harden maneuvered himself out of Houston, and how he got himself onto the team first off, and also the way that Kyrie sort of approached the season and some of his comments at the beginning of it, like in particular the ones about not needing to be coached. And, he when, of course we all know he was speaking about himself, but it seemed like there was sort of at least among that big three of those top guys, a bit too much taking for granted what they had and not necessarily noticing that, the other 9 guys are going to need more coaching than they probably expected. And the coaches themselves probably needed more coaching, starting from their rookie head coach and Steve Nash. So, when it comes, I don't think they entirely, and even though they had guys who had experience, championship experience and all that, as an entire unit, I don't think they knew just what they had to go through to take on a team like the Bucks and overcome them in a 7-game series. So, there was so much going for the Nets, and if they face just about anybody else in the East in that series, they likely win, even with the injuries. But the Bucks were that team that just weren't going to let them by. It was going to be no passing them this year, and because they have their motivations and everything, their doubts that they had to work through and everything themselves. So, it made for a hell of a series, and I think that's Nets. You got to see them as the favorite again next year. And which is pretty much the situation that Miami was in after losing to Dallas. They were the favorites easily for the next season. They just had to work through some things, like Josh said. Who was the Batman in the equation? Who was the Robin? And all this other stuff, team chemistry, motivation through the regular season, how they was going to approach the regular season as opposed to the postseason and all that, but. Landon, man, what was your thoughts on how that series ended up? And do you think the right team won that series, or was it just a matter of the Nets just losing steam and losing that losing too much time from their big three?
Well, obviously they only played 7 games together. This season prior to going into the playoffs. Obviously, I think that was game 4 or game 2 or game 2, game 1 that Kyrie got hurt, which I thought was a little bit more physical than you would have liked, especially during that that sequence where I think he stepped on, if I'm not mistaken, Giannis's foot.
Yeah,
high ankle sprain. So it was kind of sorry. There's emergency vehicles going on in the background, but I think the Nets just ran out of gas. Obviously, Kevin Durant was obviously thought that he won the game on that shot. With in regulation, they went for, what was it? 0 for 6, 0 for 8. I mean, or not, sorry, 1 for 8, 1 for 6, something like that in overtime. They only scored 2 points, and really,
he missed all his shots.
He missed all the shots. I mean, I forget who was it. Brown that put the only bucket in overtime.
I believe so.
And to be honest with you, outside of 4 points from the Milwaukee, I'm not even counting the 2 where they were on the free throw line at the end because the game was over at that point, right? They got outscored by 2 points that would have sent the game into another overtime. To be honest, but Kevin Durant was gas. He didn't have any help on the floor. Like Harden was, considering that he shouldn't have been out there. If it was anybody with a strategy, he would have, knocked on wood, wouldn't have been out there because he would have re-injured something, right? So that was a horrible coaching job during the last couple games by Steve Nash. People are blaming Steve Nash, but there's a veteran head coach that's sitting right next to him in Mike D'Antoni. So everybody's blaming Steve Nash. That's really Mike D'Antoni's fault because he's been in those type of situations as a head coach. So I feel like that Brooklyn just ran out of gas, and then also not having the chemistry that they needed, and then injuries at the wrong time gave the Bucks the opportunity to advance in the series. And, I tip my hat off to them for that.
Yeah. Drew, Josh, you guys think that Kerr and that coaching line, because that coaching staff, I mean, I would think that someone at some point had to be like, maybe Durant doesn't have to play all the minutes. Durant he's just gonna play every minute they play for the rest of the season, apparently. So, but it was a hell of an effort. I give it. It impressed me again, just the devotion that brother has to the game. But yeah, like Landon said, he was completely gassed at the end. We took that last shot in overtime. It was just the most desperate prayer you could imagine from him. It's a shot that he could make 99 times out of 100, but he just didn't have it in him because he already made all the shots he was going to make that night. So, I mean, I don't know. What do you guys think? Like, should there be more pressure? Like it's interesting too because you look at the other team that got eliminated in the East. People are putting pressure on Doc, even compared to Simmons, who we're gonna speak on Simmons in a minute, but people putting Doc, of course, has a history of failures in the postseason, but Kerr, I guess, just being new, doesn't have that history yet to fall back on. But as a new guy, and with veterans on his staff like D'Antoni, you would think that they would have a little bit more to offer rotation wise, and I mean, and also you got to think about some other guys not performing when the time arose, like Joe Harris and stuff. So I mean, yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think about Brooklyn and their shortcomings that showed themselves by the end of the series?
Multi-dimensional. I think obviously from a player's perspective, that played a role as well. They pretty much said, all right, watching KD play in this series with Kyrie and limping James Harden was like, it was like watching an AAU tournament. Like you just say, all right, Kevin Durant, you're the best player. Here's the ball, go to work. Here's some other, and you get four of the guys, and you just hope you can just carry us home. Like, I feel like that's what it was. Obviously, James Harden was he had no business being out there, but whenever he was out there, he just couldn't do nothing. He couldn't perform. And you try to rely on Blake Griffin, who isn't the scorer that he used to be, isn't the same guy. And Jeff Green, pretty much was like a blessing from God halfway through the series for him to come out and play the way that he was able to perform coming off that injury that he didn't even know that he was going to come back from in that series. So I think it's just a combination of players, some players not showing up or just having the backlash of being so top heavy, right? Because you could say the same thing about the Golden State Warriors. When Kevin Durant got injured, you had Steph and Clay and Draymond, and they thought that would be enough. Then Clay goes down. All you have is two other stars and the rest of players that would hope step up, but they're role players for a reason. So I think it's just a matter of players, unfortunately not living up to past their position of role playing on the team, as well as the fact that coaching wise, the comparison of Steve Kerr and Steve Nash and how that coaching tree takes place. The thing that differs with Steve Kerr is the fact that aside from the fact that he was given, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, and Draymond Green and Klay Thompson all at once, he was also given with the fact that he actually has championship experience. He did play with Michael Jordan. He played with Tim Duncan and Greg Popovich and those guys. These franchises that brought stability and historical performances along within their championship journey. So he has something to fall back on, along with his staff. Steve Nash is fresh blood, and the only championship experience he has was a coach on the Warriors. He didn't play in a championship game. He didn't play in the finals. He didn't have and the coaching staff that he has around him, none of them played in the finals either. None of them coached in the finals. There's no actual NBA Finals experience on that coach from a coaching staff perspective that could have helped give him those expertise down the line. At least Steve.
But it's playoff experience though.
Yeah, it is. But that's another. But you talking about another game. That's like, I mean, this is a game 7 type of thing compared to taking things to that next level. Compared to, I mean, I would take an NBA Finals experience, that in your back pocket over, someone that can make it to the playoffs but don't know what it's like to be in the crunch time game 7 mode. Like, that's life or death. That's a completely different situation. So I'm not saying that's the case. What I am saying, though, is I think that does play a role, because when you talk about decision making and how crucial it is in those crunch time moments, especially when it's a win or go home situation, having a championship pedigree and a championship experience in your back pocket I would believe that would go a lot further than just coaches that have been to the first or second round of the playoffs each year, but hasn't been able to take that next leap to the Western Conference Finals or to a finals matchup, or it's from an NBA perspective or the conference perspective.
Mm-hmm. Drew, what do you think made the difference on the Milwaukee side this time, as opposed to their past failures? We did see more from Chris Middleton in this series, and Giannis was pretty consistent in his overall outputs, but he still showed some key. There were some key moments, and of course, his free throw shooting was suspect at times. His longer range shooting was definitely suspect at times. People tried to get on him, that Brooklyn crowd, towards the end of the series. He showed some wherewithal, but it's like I said, he performed throughout the series, but there's still some worries about him in regards to late game possessions and stuff like that. Like that, I think it was that last shot. That was it. I think it was the very last shot they had before in regulation on Saturday, where he just threw it up like, it was really that he hit the broad side of the backboard, and it just didn't look well at all. You also had that possession too early in overtime where Lopez, sort of did the same thing. But I don't know. Are we looking at like if Middleton didn't show up, Milwaukee likely loses. Is that what they're resolved to at this point? Like that Middleton has to provide those mid-range and long-range shots, key shots at clutch times, and Giannis just has to, bulldoze his way and get as many points as he can in the post?
Yeah, I think that's the formula, man. I think that's the formula. Going back, like simply put, like how you said about what's the difference this year with them, I think it's just simply just their resolve. Playing in a hostile environment, playing in the game 7, still being able to come out of there with a victory, even though it was against an undermanned Brooklyn Nets squad. That's saying something. That's saying something. Being more willing to kind of adjust on the fly in Budenholzer's case, even though he still kind of at times can be stubborn. Middleton stepping up, doing what he did. I think I'm also, when the season started, man, I was like, they got Middleton, they got Giannis, they got.
We weren't speaking like they had enough earlier in the season.
Not at all. I said, okay, they got a number 1, and then they got 2 number 3s. But I think they really got a number 1 in Middleton and possibly a number 2 with Giannis. And then, of course, Drew Holiday is being a number 3. And then just a dog and PJ Tucker, who I think added so much more to that team than what they had. He's probably a big reason why they were able to persevere as well. Taking that.
Yeah, they don't win that series without Tucker either.
Yeah, man.
I'm glad you brought him up. Yeah.
And it was the times when I was able to catch the games, man. It gave me goosebumps watching him fight and claw with KD, knowing that there's no way in hell he's going to be able to really stop this dude, but he's just fighting like there's any chance that he could do it. And then seeing them, on the free throw line or just after the play, kind of just chatting it up with each other. I don't know what was being said, but That's just I like that, man. I like
and messing with Wanda Durant on the sideline too. Like it was all love, but you still had them ready to scrap in that one game. Like I loved it. I loved it.
And now I don't know if now that they've kind of slain the big bad dragon in the East, if the pressure's off, or if now they do have more pressure because the field is so much more wide open now. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with that. Kind of looking ahead to their series with Atlanta and Trae Young, the Hawks have already, dispatched of two of the better defensive teams in the league. Now they're going against another one. So, I would say that Milwaukee has the upper hand, but Atlanta's shown us. Ice Trae is Josh has shown us that it's not necessarily as sweet as it looks, man, on the defensive side of the ball.
And real briefly, I gotta say something because this is how I really feel, bro. Thanks to Giannis, Middleton, PJ Tucker, and Drew Holiday, they saved my Budenholzer's butt for another year. That's all I think that really happened. Like, because Budenholzer, to be honest with you, I don't see what much of the adjustments he really made. I just thought Giannis was like, all right, I'm just gonna play my game. Middleton said, I'm just going to step up and be the closer, which I need to be. Drew Holiday's been impressive this whole entire playoffs. And I think the addition of PJ Tucker really just set the tone for what they really needed to get to the actual championship round. So putting all that together with Budenholzer's stubborn self, you just get by. And I feel like that's what happened with Milwaukee. It just got by and gave Budenholzer a whole nother year to just stay in Milwaukee and hopefully get another chance at a title. But I just think mostly they just saved his butt. That's all I feel, man. Like, shout out to Giannis in Milwaukee. I can't take that. You can't take nothing away from what they did. They did exactly what they're supposed to do in defeating Brooklyn to get to increase the chances of winning the title. But Mike Budenholzer, I don't think he did much, man. I think he just got himself another year. That's how I view it.
I want to extend that conversation right quick, but Landon has to go at the moment now. Just want to thank you for joining us for the beginning here, Landon. Man, appreciate you, and we definitely want to bring you back on soon because I still want to have that Dallas conversation, man. So we'll definitely try to bring you on next week or so.
Thank you guys for having me. As you can see, I ran out with the camera problem, so I want to go get that fixed. But thank you guys for having me. And if you guys want to bring me back on next Monday or whenever you have it have your next episode next week, I will definitely have no problem coming on. And hopefully I'll have better technology.
Oh, hey man, I know how it is, man. We all know how that is, but let the people know how to follow you right quick, man, and let them in the meantime, follow your work and stuff.
So right now, the only publication I'm writing for right now is LandonBuford.com, covering sports and entertainment, like you guys introduced me earlier in the episode. And then you can follow me on Instagram at what it says right here, at Landon Buford on Instagram and Twitter.
Cool. Appreciate you, brother. And stay out there, man. And we'll try to get you back on next week. Yeah. Okay.
Because I know you want to have that Dallas conversation, and it's crazy. It's getting crazier by the day. It seems like so.
Yeah. So. All right, man. Keep on the grind, man. Keep on the grind.
Thank you. Sir. Thank you guys again.
Thank you, man.
And Landon Buford there, man. Appreciate him. But they said, he'll be back on the show soon. And but I want to extend that what you brought up, Josh, man. As far as I definitely agree with you that Budenholzer got a reprieve. It's going to be hard for if he and the Bucks lost their series, even though you're losing to the prohibitive favorite in the Nets, it would have been hard because there were so many rightful critiques centered around his playing style the playing style that the Bucks have that he wasn't really attuning to the strengths of the team, especially early in that series where they were doing all this outside shooting and they weren't adhering to their strengths, like I said, and they fell back in that series really drastically for no reason, just because they were being stubborn. And as a coach, he has to have better reins of that and better reins of his players, even the star players, at these moments in time. And like I said, if he lost that series, he likely would have been out the door. Him winning, it helps a big time. But I would say if they go out and lay an egg against Atlanta, and this sort of bridges into my overall question here is how big of a favorite should the Bucks be in this series? But I'm sure given that they have the home court advantage and they are the higher seed and the more experienced playoff team, really they check all the boxes as favorites. But say the Hawks do go out and knock them off, Bud may still and it's Bud's former team too. Bud may still be in that hot seat, if they don't get to the finals there. We got to see how this plays out in the Eastern Conference Finals. But I don't know. If you want to go into that, feel free. But like I say, my main question right now in regards to the series is how big of a favorite should the Bucks be?
It's not as big as people think. I don't think it's as big as people think. And Philadelphia, the series with the Philadelphia 76ers is a prime example, right? Yeah. We all thought that, they was the number one team in the East. They got Joel Embiid. He's playing great. He's playing right. Doc got him right. Tobias Harris was showing up. And even, at least for the most part, leading up to that series, Ben Simmons was doing his thing. So we was thinking that, this ain't going to be this should be a pretty easy, get by series for Philadelphia to prepare for a Brooklyn Nets or a Milwaukee Bucks, which was the ideal matchup we was looking for. Then Ice Trey and messed around and flipped the whole script, right? And not just him too. My redheaded Hooter guy, I forgot his name. My redheaded dude. I love people. I love that redheaded man.
Well, they call him Red Velvet down there.
Red Velvet came through, right? In a game 7 and flipped the whole script. And that's what I'm saying. Like, Atlanta is such a fun team to watch. And to see what Trae Young is doing with that team, not just offensively, but defensively too. They got some big men that can match up with the stretched out ability of Brook Lopez or Giannis. They can wall up with Giannis because of John Collins and Capella. They have some big guards that can kind of a little bit. I think they're a little undermatched on the guard perspective when it comes to defensively. But offensively, they're just as much of a nightmare as Brooklyn as Milwaukee can be. And Milwaukee defensively has what it takes to hold that, to at least slow down that offense. They're not always capable of doing that. So that's what I'm saying. I can't necessarily say that this is going to be a huge, advantage for Milwaukee when you think about on paper, because it should be. However, when you talk about the games of recent play and the history behind, especially history behind the Bucks, and quite often they don't have that killer instinct to take over a matchup on a consistent night and a consistent basis and stick to the way that they're supposed to play to win these games. Yeah. And with Ice Trey arriving, I'm telling you, like, it's going to be some cold nights in Milwaukee, man, because Ice Trey ain't going. That team is not going. They're ready for it. And I think they're going to be in for a rude awakening.
And he's going to relish playing in Milwaukee, playing against a hostile road environment. He's going to be looking to take out some hearts. So it's going to be pretty fun. Another fun series, I think, where you got a team, like you say, Josh, they could stretch out the defense. They're going to be looking to shoot long range. In a lot of ways, it's going to mirror what the Nets was offering them. But that was a good point you made there about the bodies they could throw in the front court at Giannis. And that's going to play on both ends of the court. So Giannis is going to have to step up his weak side, protection, when it comes to players like Collins, who may be coming, underneath on some lobs type stuff in transition, or, Capella, the stuff that he could do as a rim runner and a rim protector, like I said, on both ends of the court. You even got the young boy from USC that they picked up in the draft last year, who they could throw out there, and they got, like I say, you got my man down Garden, the vet Garden. I'm not about to say Gallinari. I'm about to say Gardenari or something. Gardener or something. So I know I was gonna say it wrong, but yeah, you got people like that, and just like you say, the perimeter players aren't as impactful for Atlanta as they are with Brooklyn, but you still got a Bogdanovich who could snap off at any time, and like I said, we see what Herter can do, and Ice Trae is always a threat. So the Bucks gotta play. They gotta play discipline. They gotta control as much of the games as they can, and they can't slip in these first games at home. They gotta assert their home court advantage, because we've seen it in both series so far for Atlanta. They they thrive on playing on the road. They like to go and take games early in other buildings. They did it to the Knicks. They did it to Philly. So, if they do it here again to Milwaukee, that's going to set up the series just the way that they want to set it up.
Okay. I got to throw some cold water on Atlanta a little bit, man. I understand.
You gonna wake them up, Drew?
Not a little bit. Like, I understand it's a sexy pick, man. Like with the teams that we got left. Trae Young is arguably like the most or the biggest lightning rod we have left in terms of entertainment, like just that pure, must-see television.
He's that old school playoff antagonist that we haven't had in a while, man.
He's Reggie Miller.
He's Reggie Miller, yeah. Reggie Miller, Barkley. He's the guy coming into the arena saying, "Give me all that you got."
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But unlike those days with Reggie, man, I actually enjoy watching Ice Trae do what he's doing, because I'm not. The Bulls ain't here, so
right. He ain't doing it to the Bulls yet. Wait till next year, though.
Right.
When they are 3 and the Bulls are 6, and he's just running around. And
man, knock on wood. No, but I think you guys make great points, but as many as the bodies as Atlanta can throw on Giannis, that's how many that can be then thrown on Trae. They can come at him on Holiday, can come at him with Giannis. They can try to put Tucker on him. They can put Middleton on him. They have to switch. Those plethora of pick and rolls that they like to run, where Trae Young is just running rampant with the ball, and nobody knows if he's doing a floater or a lob to compel it. Like I think they have ways to try to not neutralize that, but just make it that much more difficult for them to pull off their bread and butter plays, maybe even more so than what Philly and New York were able to do.
Well, you look at PJ Tucker again, his ability to disrupt from the 3-point line in is going to be enhanced this series, because he's not dealing with as physical a disadvantage as he was like when he was matched up against KD. Nobody on Atlanta provides that sort of disadvantage.
Yeah, and something that you guys didn't speak on was, Capella has been as steady as they come, man, giving them, it feels like, nightly double-doubles. But now, again, this is a different team, different series. Brook Lopez is going to bring him outside that paint, man.
Yeah.
And he's going to have to respect that. Those corners are going to be hot with Giannis at the top or Drew at the top, Middleton kind of working in that mid-range. So nobody's throwing a prediction out there yet. But I'm gonna go Milwaukee in 6, man.
Yeah, let's not get twisted. I'm not picking Atlanta to win. I'm trying to ramp up the intrigue here.
Maybe, I think Josh is. Maybe not you, but I think Josh is. Josh want to pick him.
Josh, you got the guarantee button out there, man.
No, I'm not that messed up. I'm not Charles. I can't do what Chuck do, man. I can't do that. I'm not the guarantee button guy. But I would prefer Atlanta to win so I can make my trip to Magic City.
Oh,
outside of that, though, that's a whole other story.
Magic City in the finals. Huh?
Magic City in the finals, that's a whole other story. But, if you think from a literally basketball logical perspective, as much as I love Atlanta, what they do, the Cinderella story is going to have to end at some point because she's going to have to eventually find her glass slipper. They're going to find their glass slipper at the house. And I do believe that Milwaukee, if they do it right, if they really do it right, like Drew said, they should be able to finish this thing in 6 games. But I'm not completely counting Atlanta out just because we thought the same thing with Philly, and look what happened. Yeah. So I'm not going to completely knock them out, but I expect Milwaukee to handle the business and win this thing in 6 games.
I agree. I don't see it. I don't see them playing 7 again in Milwaukee, and I think 6 at the most. So yeah, I'm definitely riding with Milwaukee. I would say as a basketball pick, and a little emotional as well. So yeah, it'd be like I said. I said it with the last series. I just thought that Atlanta had some more growing to do, but it seemed like they got that boldness of youth about them where they're just playing. They don't have any scaredness in them, and they ready. And that'll continue in this series, I believe. But I just think at some point the matchup just won't be there for them, and they won't be able to do as much as what they want in this series as what they did in Philly. And there's nobody in Milwaukee, as I make a transition here, who is going to give up a 2-foot bunny under the rim. So they don't have that going, that advantage going for them in this series. So of course, you know what I'm talking about when I say that. And I want to we got with about a half hour here left. I'll keep it We'll keep it pretty much local for this last part of the show. In regards to Ben Simmons, the talk with him is that he's absolutely played his last game in Philadelphia. And I'm willing to agree with that. Like, he needs a new place to go. And there's a number of places where he probably could go, where he could make an impact right away. I could, off the top of my head, I could think of, a Minnesota or New Orleans, maybe even a Miami or something like that. But, Stephen A. Really, he brought up Portland this morning on ESPN. That could work possibly as well. But of course, I think all of us on our timeline may have had people, because of who we follow and converse with, who are willing to mention that the Bulls may be in a place where he could go. And there have been rumors at points in the last year or two already, when Ben Simmons's value was high, much higher than it is now, that he could be a guy who could be moved to the Bulls at some point. But now that value is low as it can be. I still think in the face of that, I wouldn't necessarily take it on if I was the Bulls. I would rather see him get his mind right and his game right in another fashion, beyond what we're seeing of him now. He has a 4-year contract still, and whether that's time enough, whether he does it in Philly or with another team where you can allow for him to to put up or shut up. And, you know, at the end of that contract, he's still going to be in his 20s. He's still going to be a guy with a lot of future ahead of him in the league. You know, I would wait out that time, and you know, I would think at that time he's gonna play the free agent market, you know, regardless of where he's at. So that would be a time where I would probably take the risk on him, depending on what he shows in that time. But in the immediate aftermath of what he did in this postseason, I don't think I could take him on, you know, myself. But, you know, I'm not AK. I'm not Mark Eversley. So, you know, with that said, do you think that there's a possibility that the Bulls would take a risk on him? And, you know, what do you think it would take for him to be in Chicago?
I think the Bulls will do their due diligence. The Bulls are known for this specific front office management is, you know, doing their behind the scenes work and doing their homework before they jump into something that they feel that's certain of. And the prime example is the Nikola Vucevic trade, right? They did their due diligence all season long, reportedly. And when the time came where they knew it was time to blow it up, they blew it up and went big doing it. So they're known to make the right moves when they feel that it's ready and necessary to make the moves. That being said, Ben Simmons, he provides areas that the Bulls do lack. Defensive perimeter, especially defensively from the perimeter, a big body that could be versatile and play multiple positions, etc. So he does fill those gaps. But the problem is if you can't get that jump shot right, how is the Bulls offense going to expand? That was always been a problem for the Bulls this past season. And that's why they relied so much on Kobe White, because they knew he could score the ball, but they also needed him to facilitate on top of being a scorer, which was a responsibility that he is still learning. And that's why Lonzo Ball became such a huge factor this offseason too, right? Because even though we know he can facilitate and is a great on-ball defender from the perimeter, the increased ability to shoot the ball, where he shot close to 40% from three-point land this year, that intrigued the interest that much more. And I don't know if Ben Simmons will have his jump shot will get improved in that much amount of time to where the Bulls are willing to take that type of risk and hope that through their player development program, Ben Simmons will develop a jump shot where at least if it's not perfect, he could at least take the shots. Like it's different from, it's different from shooting, knowing you can't shoot, but you can at least be willing to take the shot to make the defense react. He's not even taking shots. Like he's not even looking to take a shot. So to even get past that level, that's a whole nother like mental block of trauma that the Bulls have to deal with. And I don't know if the Bulls would be willing to take on that mantle. I just don't see that happening. I don't think it would be a good move. And just a random side note, you mentioned, Kyle, about different teams that Ben Simmons could be traded to. I actually saw something that might be intriguing as well is Philadelphia actually trading Ben Simmons to Oklahoma City for Kemba Walker. Oklahoma City could eat up that big contract. And if you want to build something around Ben Simmons over there, you technically have the draft picks to do it. And then Kemba Walker being in his ready to win now mode, if he could stay healthy, putting him with Joel Embiid is not a bad option in Philly. So that's something that I saw lurking around there as well. That could be very interesting. But as far as Ben Simmons to the Bulls, I'm with you, Kyle. There's a lot of pluses, but there's also a lot of negatives that can come with that. And I think the Bulls have to give up too much, especially probably give up Zach LaVine to make it happen. And I would not do that for the life of me. I would never do that.
Oh, no, not at all. Not at all. My thinking was more of like actually Kobe. And, I was thinking like, see, the thing with me, again, with Ben, in comparing Chicago to Philly and the reactions that, could be possible from here as, comparable to Philadelphia, is we're not as mean as Philly, but we're not that far off. So I think the first time that in a Bulls uniform where he would pass off a bunny under the rim, and he gets booed by one of the first full crowds in the United Center in 2 years, he's going to be right back into his dark place again, you know. And the Bulls fans, you got enough. It's not the majority of Bulls fans, but you got enough Bulls fans who are questioning the Vooch trade, and Vooch is a baller, but Vooch, but people see Wendell performing in Orlando, like, oh, see, they messed up. Imagine if we gave up Zach or Kobe or somebody, and they go snap in Philadelphia, and Ben's still here shooting 4 of 18, and the Bulls are still, pretty much the team that they were last year, but just a little better on the perimeter on defense. That's not going to work. That's again why I say let this man work through his stuff and look at him maybe in a few years when he's probably on the wider market, and see if he evolves into something. There was something I saw earlier today where there's talk that he may stop shooting left-handed and start shooting right-handed. It's like this dude is going to be starting from scratch because he's got no offensive game right now. He's starting from scratch. So if you're the Bulls, you don't take that on just for a couple of bumps up in your defensive rating. You need more than that. You need more than that from your guy on the point, and a few empty assists. You need more than that. So
Yeah, if I'm an exec, man, well, I guess you couldn't do it because it'd be considered tampering. But if you could, I would have to have a conversation with Ben. Like, what is it that you think you do well? What is it that you think you need to improve on? What have you done in your summers to improve on your game? Talk me through what goes through your mind on certain scenarios, certain plays. What are you thinking in crunch time? Where do you feel like you're more effective? Because like you guys have said, this guy, he takes so much pressure off the defense because he's unwilling to shoot. Like, you can't do that, man. It's one thing to not have a trusted jump shot, but it's a whole nother thing to not even make the defense fearful that you'll even take a shot. At least Giannis, at least Rajon Rondo's of the world, they will at least try to keep the defense honest. And I'm not sure if it's him being stubborn or what it is, man. I don't know what it is, but he's cutting himself short, and he's really kind of held back that Philly squad. And that's not to let Doc Rivers or even Joel Embiid, as well as he played for most of that series, because I think he did have like 7 or 8 turnovers in that game 7. But Ben Simmons was kind of dragging them down, more like a ball and chain rather than an anchor.
There's a picture of Embiid carrying like a barrel of bricks, and I think in Africa or something. This label, and the bricks are labeled Ben Simmons. Yeah.
Yeah, it's bad, man. It's bad.
We talked earlier about how Paul George has gotten it over the years. Like, it's gonna be bad for him for Ben Simmons until he has to actively change the narrative about him, and he can only do that on the court. So he's got to do a lot over the next few years to change the way that people think about him. And there may be people like, shout out to BC, shout out to Gene. They always gonna be on that Bean Simmons. They always gonna be on that. So
yeah,
I'm kind of with them at this point until I see something different, man. And like I said, I don't necessarily want to see that on the Bulls, but we'll see what happens. If the Bulls buy low on him, hey, if they could give him up for Archidiakono and a couple of Giordano's pieces, maybe, maybe we could make something happen there. But, I like I said, I don't want to give up anything crucial for him, but yeah, as far as speaking of crucial, the lottery. Let's spend a second on the lottery. The lottery's coming up tomorrow, and there's an outside chance that the Bulls could be involved in the lottery if they get. I think the top if the pick that is right now established tied to them goes in the top 3, they will get the pick. If it falls anything under that, they won't get the pick. And I think the established order going into the lottery would have the Bulls pick at 8th. So that if it went the way that it's supposed to go, that pick would go to Orlando, and Orlando would end up with 2 picks in the top 10 likely. So it's interesting. Drew's gonna have a little bit about that on our Substack tomorrow. I sort of rearranged some stuff with the Chicago Sports Exchange today, but that's going to be involved in previously in the Sports Exchange is going to be involved in on its own. You could catch that on our Substack WARR Ready tomorrow, but. I don't know. Given that I just made the tease there, Drew. What are your thoughts on the lotto and the lottery, I should say, and how the Bulls are relating to it?
Preparing for the worst, praying for the best, man. Not getting my hopes up whatsoever. I've kind of resigned myself to the fact that safety net that Connoisseurs built into that trade for Vucevic of, let's say we make these trades and for whatever reason it doesn't work out. Well, let me have this protection just in case. Well, even that just in case ain't really going to be what it was supposed to be. That's how I'm kind of looking at it.
The Bulls, they pulled out a miracle before. I don't know how much help the league had before in that, but it was what 1.8% for the Rose pick.
Yeah, like 1.7, and even last year they weren't supposed to get up into that top 4 range. I think they were slotted at 7th. I think.
Yeah, it seemed like we were resigned to getting the number 7 pick for eternity for a while.
Man, thank God that didn't go the way it had been going.
Yeah,
I don't want to say I'm not excited about it, but I don't want to even put too much energy into it because I feel like I already know what's going to happen, and I kind of addressed that in the
I feel you. Like you just gotta sit back and if it happens, then hooray. But you can't be you can't get too emotionally involved in it because you really set yourself up for failure. Because if we talked about it in weeks past, like the Bulls, there's an outside possibility, and if they get into that mix of that top 3, they will likely be able to get from either Cunningham from Oklahoma State or Suggs from Gonzaga. They could get possibly their Justin Fields, and the guy who they need right now to run their offense on the court as opposed to on the field, and a potential game changer who they really didn't deserve getting, but they fell into their laps. So that's what's really that's the stakes there. But at the same time, but the good thing about it is that it's not all the stakes that's there. It's not, if it doesn't happen, it doesn't necessarily ruin the off season. It's just something that didn't happen for them. And like Drew said, it was part of a deal that you really can't argue improved the team regardless. So, you just got to take it and leave it,
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Yeah, I'm just gonna I'll have my booze ready to go.
Your booze or your booze?
My booze, I'll have my alcoholic beverages.
Oh, you can have both. You know,
I know
one booze could lead to the other.
For sure, I got my one that I know for sure I'll be straight with. But it's the birthday tomorrow, so you know I gotta have something.
Oh, you gonna turn up on you got the lottery on your birthday. You
got the lottery on my birthday. It used to be the draft, but pandemic hit, so changed all.
Right, pushed it back. Yeah,
pushed it back. But yeah, it used to be the draft. So it's always been on my birthday week. So I've always enjoyed myself, especially when the legality of the age kicked in. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna be having my drinks on and watching the lottery and just see where the Bulls end up with. I hope it's the top 3 or 4 so we can, because I'm big on Jalen Suggs. I love Brandon Cunningham and what he could bring to the table. If we get Jalen Suggs, that's my guy. I think he'll be the perfect.
I'm kind of with you on that, Josh.
Perfect guy for the Bulls. So if that were to take place, great. If not, I ain't too worried about it because that just focuses the attention to what you're going to do in the offseason with the free agency and potential trades picking up. Like we know that the Bulls are now a front office and a team that will at least engage in the festivities. If they don't pull triggers, they will at least engage in the festivities. They're willing to dip in the other side of the pool without being too bougie with it. Okay, so therefore, I'll be looking forward to seeing what this draft lottery can potentially shape for the Bulls' future when he talks about the offseason and filling in those holes that we need to fill because we have a lot of holes we got to fill. And, there's only a select few people that are available in this offseason. So we just got to see what we're going to do.
Definitely. As we're rounding out this latest episode of Runnin with WARR. And, I had to look this up. You mentioned tomorrow being your birthday, Josh, and I think you'd appreciate that the Sky are playing on your birthday. Unfortunately, let's see, this would have made a nice birthday trip going to New York and seeing them play the Liberty.
That would have.
Yeah, but
that really would have. Madison Square Garden, never been.
Yeah, that'd have been. But yeah, I was thinking it would have been nice too if you could have just went to Wintrust and saw them as well. That'd have been. Yeah, that'd have been nice. But yeah, that'd been dope to see them in New York. But that's what they're going to be doing tomorrow, playing the Liberty and in no school and everything. It's going to be an interesting game there. But as we move on to get into some Sky talk, we don't have Chris here, but I think we all could speak on the Sky and being pleased with them running off 5 straight here and getting their record back up to 500. They haven't lost with Candace Parker on the court this year, and so it's pretty much proven already how good that deal was and the impact that made. And we talked too about just the team coming together and dealing with the injuries that they had and the losses that they had. Steph Dolson was doing the Olympic qualifying. She's got back into the team and rotation has been doing well. And the trade for Dana Evans, a lot of people, Chris didn't like it and a lot of people looked at it sideways, but it might have been something that they needed to do. Even if they could have got her in the draft, it's not necessarily gone through all this mess in the first place. In the end, they were able to make the deal and get the girl, and unfortunately, Shyla Neal had to be on the wrong side of that. But Evans may wind up being a good player in the rotation, and a ready-made rookie who can contribute more so than even Neal was. So, but like I say, 5 straight. They're at 500, and the worries that were there a couple weeks ago would seem to have gone away. But hey, you never know. But I guess the main thing is that, like I say, with Parker, with the team as a whole, or close to it, and with Parker on the court, they don't seem to be lacking in what they need to do. So, what do you guys think about what the Sky's done?
I just think, just to have that about face, man, to take those 7 losses on the chin and come back with 5 straight wins.
Yeah.
At a time where they're about to face the Liberty, a team that they've already lost to this season, who they're going to play twice this week on the road, and then have to go play the Sun again on the road, I believe Saturday. It's hard to beat a team three times in a season, or 3 times in a row, however you want to put it.
That'll be a tough stretch.
Yeah, man. So to get those wins against kind of some lesser opponents, or ones that have been kind of fighting with injuries and whatnot, that's huge. That's huge. And, they have another low, I want to say maybe the Wings are mixed in. I think the Mystics are mixed in. And they finally play the Storm. We haven't played the Storm or the Aces yet. So, I want to see what that's going to look like, with us with the Sky at their best against the other top echelon teams in WNBA.
That's what I was sort of like when I was going over what I was talking earlier. I was saying, like, they're right. They're back in a good place, but we still got some questions going forward, because like Drew, you laid it out good. That schedule being what it is, and these double up games and stuff, it's weird. Like, I wonder if they had to make the schedule beforehand when the pandemic was still very going strong and everything. But I wonder how much, if any, the league is, sort of, just sort of not, sort of. I wonder how much they're just like, man, I wish we could have made this a more regular schedule, and not have these double up games and stuff. Because I don't know how much it seemed like it would be affecting the competition in some way. Because I go back to the stretch sort of right before this, when they played like Phoenix a couple of times and they played LA a couple of times, and that was a stretch where I remember on the show talking to Chris, and I was like, man, that could be a tough stretch. And Chris sort of was like, well, they're not as good as they've been in recent years. And I think they lost like all but one of those games. Mm-hmm. So it was like, they might have lost all those games, I think. But yeah, I think they lost all those games against Phoenix and LA. So it was like, that was in the middle of the losing streak. So it was like, I don't know what is it about certain, could be a matchup thing, or it's just them still coming into their own as far as their rotation and not having Parker be there and 100%, Yeah, but like the Sun and the Liberty have both been gotten off to good starts. The Liberty, like Drew said, has already beaten the Sky, and the Sun played the Sky pretty tough on Saturday. But we'll see how that goes. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how they play against, like you say, the Storm and the Aces, because those are two big teams in the West, and going to be 2 teams that they're definitely going to get around if they want to have those championship aspirations towards the end of the season. So, but as we wrap up, one cool thing I want to throw out there that I saw earlier today. I think, I don't know if you guys saw it as well, but Jordan Brand making a big announcement and revealing a big roster of 11 WNBA players that they got on the Jordan Brand now, endorsing those sneakers and clothing and stuff, and try to read off those names. But it's pretty unprecedented. Not, we've talked earlier this year about how the league has changed and how they're getting more endorsements from their individual endorsements from their players, and more more money coming to the league and everything. And we look at the iconic nature of the Jordan brand and just the so much real estate that it holds in clothing and in fashion and in sportswear. Definitely to give some of that over to the ladies. That's a big move for Mike. And the picture that he took was pretty cool. I don't know if you saw, with Mike standing behind the ladies and they were all lined up in front of him. So we're seeing woke Mike again, the evolution of woke Mike. This not something we would have saw in the 90s, but that's back when he was still dunking on Cheryl Swoops and stuff if he had the chance and stuff. But now he's taking a back seat to the ladies and letting them shine. And let's see the roster of women again. Interestingly, Maya Moore, who still is retired from the game, is on that list. But it goes to show something else that they're doing with this is highlighting the ladies who are standing up for issues and matters outside of the court as well. That's definitely something that is attributed to Maya Moore. But the rest of the players are active in the league now. Kia Nurse, Asia Durr, Satu Sabali, Chelsea Dungy, Ariel Powers, Crystal Dangerfield, Arella Corinne, Garantes, Tia Cooper, Deoxia Hamby, and Jordan Canada. So, yeah, definitely a really cool movement advancing the movement of the WNBA and these ladies. Hopefully they get some good dough out of it,
Yeah, most definitely. And I'm glad you mentioned the Maya Moore component of it because she pretty much helped pave the way. She crawled so that the rest of the WNBA players can walk and run, right? Yeah. And for her to take up the mantle that way that she did and be so impactful behind it, for her to still be with Jordan Brand, and I think she did play a role in probably having Jordan's ear in regards to helping form this campaign and this movement together. So that way, Jordan, it could be put together in a way that, that gives the platform that the women need, because she is one of the main ones that helped pave the way. Be able to have that. And I'm glad and thankful for Jordan to be able for him utilizing his brand to do so. Also, he was probably smart enough to think about the fact that this probably is an extra, an extra avenue of income for him. Just because, now you got the women involved and tapping into another league and pretty much being, as a businessman, paying attention to the trends of how women are being, especially the WNBA, are supporting more social justice movement initiatives. And him being the guy that he is, he can be like, hey, I got a platform y'all can use. Put some money in his pocket.
But I got some shoes y'all can buy too.
Yeah,
sweatpants and shirts and all that.
Yeah, so it's a smart business. It's a smart business move. That we can't completely negate the fact that is MJ and he's a businessman. But at the same time, for him to actually make this movement in the way that it is, at the caliber that it is, it's a big step in the right direction for not just Jordan Brand, but other brands in general to join that movement as well and creating their own brands, creating their own initiatives within those brands. So hopefully this doesn't stop with just Jordan. It goes to Nike, it goes to Adidas, it goes to Puma now, it goes to Converse, all these other different shoe brands that have women that represent their brands. I hope it continues and lead on to those other shoe companies and endorsements.
But they'd be smart to get on board. I mean, the fact that it is Jordan makes all the difference. Like, if Jordan is doing it, there's no excuse for anyone else to not do it.
True, very true.
Drew, you got anything you want to add?
Just to piggyback, just the explosion of women's sports and the promotion of these athletes, man. It's great to see, like you guys have said. I think it's still a far way off from where they want to be and where they're trying to get to, but it's a movement that's in progress. Yeah. Much deserved.
Yeah, definitely.
I'll just join the movement for $1 million. Can I just join the boardroom for like a year, less than that, and get a meal out of that? Because I mean that's a lot of money.
I don't need a meal. Just give me, that's like the post I saw this week. Somebody talking about, would you take a meal now or $50 a week? For the rest of your life. Like, yeah, what you think I'm gonna take, man?
Right.
But I take $50 for the WNBA every week though. I take it $50 per show. Just tell me what you want me to say on the show every week, and I'll take it. But anyway, but that's it's a good thing overall, and it's highlighting and providing a platform for people who deserve it. And it says it's allowing more of the cake, that's out there to be distributed to more people. And another case of that happening is the Supreme Court ruling against the NCAA and making it official that the athletes can go out and get the money that they want, but with their own likenesses and everything. So that's another big breakthrough that came through today, and that's going to definitely have an impact on amateur athletics at all levels and basketball and all that. So yeah, we'll see how that impacts college players and who goes where and who what type of endorsements may you see with players even before they get into the NBA now and everything. So I'm all for it. Like I say, it should be, those opportunities should be there for these people, women and men, because they make the money that so many that the NCAA has hogged up, and college presidents and college presidents and executives, all these people who hogged this money up all these years, and it's just been nothing available for the players. For what? Some sort of misguided and idea of amateurism as being held aloft because we allow these kids to be broke. That's not how it should be. So get your money, man. I want to see a bunch of local car dealership commercials and McDonald's ads with with DePaul players and U of I players and Northwestern, and let's see all that, man. Let's see them get their money, man. Let them go out on the corner and Wintrust and sign their autographs and and do their thing, man.
Use it too. The ball use it.
Man, you imagine how popular, how much more popular was DePaul, or how long was Q at DePaul? Was he there for a year or two?
I think it was two.
Was it two? How popular those teams would be with him and Bobby Simmons and James and all the back then.
Man. Their moms probably would have been sponsoring parties at E2 or something, man. They'd have been getting popping, man. They're like, send VIP with Bobby Simmons for $100 bottle service.
Oh man, yeah, for sure, man. But like I said, like that, I'm glad you brought that up because DePaul's trying to do something right with this new athletic director, the new basketball coach.
Yeah. What do you think about that, right quick? They got a brother running the athletic department now.
Yeah, it's about time. I'm glad they got a brother up in there running the show. I still have, in some cases, some question marks about the head coach just because of his sexual assault situation that happened in Oregon.
Yeah.
Really, so I'm still intrigued on how they're going to handle it.
It was him possibly having knowledge of what players did. It wasn't nothing that he did, right?
Yeah, right. So I'm a little worried about how they investigated that. Especially since we are a school that is, very religious based, and we have certain, standards about how we treat our people. So, I'm interested to see how that's going to go. But but from what I've been hearing and from what I've been seeing, DePaul's been putting their name out there in that transfer portal. They've been getting some good, decent transfers to come over to bolster up that men's basketball team. The athletic director is supposedly, has been a guy that's not playing any games. He's serious. He wants to take things to the next level, and which he should, because the Big East is no joke, especially with what Georgetown just did this past year. You got shaken up with Marquette and Shaka Smart, and that.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. And I got a cousin that's gonna play for Shaka Smart next year. Who was recruited to Marquette. So
who was that?
Cameron Jones. Jones. He was Mr. All Basketball at Memphis, and now in Memphis, and now he accepted a full ride to Marquette. He was going to go there regardless, but with the coaching change and Shaka Smart being there, that really, intrigued things anyway. So,
that's what's up.
And supposedly Marquette got a good recruiting class coming in with the new changes that's being made. So, the Big East in general is no joke. It's always been no joke. It's always been a very competitive field, but with DePaul being so bad these past couple of years,
the bad thing is that they did show a spark, like in regards to getting talent. At least, like they got, the run that they had at the beginning of last year was really good.
Yes,
and they just fell off again because. I don't, for whatever reason, I don't know why they gave that man that job again, but Dave Lato did not deserve that job, and he was never gonna get that team back to where they needed to be. But they had, like I said, they've gotten talented guys to play on that program over the past couple of years. They just need the leadership now. So that's the interesting thing about the portal. The portal opens so much up now, and talent from across the country is switching and switching all around. And if people are, I think one of the guys who used to play for DePaul said was no, I don't know if it's Sands or it's another guy, but I think he's playing for like his fourth team in 4 years or something. Like, you see these kids switching, like it's like when you at the end of games when you exchanging jerseys. They're gonna be exchanging jerseys for real in the moment, But hey, I like to say more power to them, more freedom to the kids. So let's see how the game has changed, and I don't know what the impact is going to be wholly, but let's see how it plays out. But that's it though for now. Running with WARR, another session in the books. I'm not sure if we'll have another show this week, maybe, but we'll definitely be back on next week. And like I said, we'll bring Landon Buford back on to have that Dallas Mavericks discussion and everything, see how everything is wilding out down there, among other things. And of course, more games played in the postseason. These Eastern and Western Conference Finals are playing out. Game 1 of the Eastern Finals starting on Wednesday. So definitely we'll be reacting more to that. And I'll tell you what, if the Bulls get that top 3 pick, we definitely will be doing another show this week. So
top four.
I thought it was. I've heard different things. Now I know when the trade it was protected in the top 4, but I don't know if it was changed by the lottery rules, but hopefully if it's top 4, that's good too. But whatever, if the Bulls get a pick, that's the thing, because they're either going to have a pick or they're not. So if the Bulls have a pick after Tuesday night, then we'll definitely get back on this week and talk about it.
Have us a little emergency pod.
Yeah. We got to react to that. So
I think at some point we got to talk about Doc Rivers too, man. Like, not to say nothing away from him. Man, him losing and Ty Lue advancing on happening. Was it the same? Man, we might have to talk about Doc, man.
I kind of purposefully let we did like a perfunctory mention of him, but
Yeah.
But see, yeah, he's lucky though, because Ben took all that pressure off him. Or Bean took all that pressure off.
Bean, man, that dude.
Yeah. So
all day on Twitter, man. That's all I see.
Yeah, Ben Simmons just needs to stay away from Twitter for about the whole summer. The streets are too hot for him right now. The streets are too hot.
Right. He shouldn't be on social media. He needs to be working on his jump shot. That's all he needs to do also. Work on his jump shot.
There's all kind of rumors about him. Obviously he doesn't only do this, but about him, the amount of time he spends playing Call of Duty in the summertime.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Man. No, don't work on Call of Duty. Work on your jump shot. Shoot 1,000 with your left, shoot 1,000 with your right. Just do something.
I mean, because at the end of the day, if you have to be bad if they're creating memes and say if you feel useless, just know that Ben Simmons wears a shooting sleeve. Like,
oh yeah, that's a good one.
Man, I've heard this man compared to Tim Tebow today, so this is getting.
Man. See. Man, see, and maybe that's an option for him. Maybe he could play a tight end for somebody. I don't know. Could he at least catch the ball? But that's it for us, though, man. We out of here. Running with WARR. You got the tags for our guys here, Joshua M. Hicks Media. Look what Drew did. That's how you follow them on IG and Twitter, and definitely keep up with Drew's writing on WARR Ready Substack, his own Substack as well. What's your name of that, Drew?
The Bullish Blogger, but that's very much a work in progress, man.
Just follow Drew in general, and follow Josh as well. And Josh doing this thing with DePaul as well is what he does with us and stuff with DePaul and their student media. So yeah, definitely wish you guys the best with what you're doing, and we'll like I said, we'll maybe get back later this week, but definitely get back at next week at the latest. So that's it for now. Enjoy these games. I got Milwaukee at 6, and I don't know. We didn't make a Western Conference picks. I don't know. Y'all want to do that or what?
So CP3 is out game 2. That just came across.
Okay. We may want to hold that off or what?
I go Clippers, man. Forget it. I go Clippers. Clippers Bucks.
I'm kind of leaning to Clippers too, even though they lost their first game.
I'm gonna be an outsider at this one. I think CP3 gonna come back at the right time. It may not come when you want him, but he's coming right on time. He's gonna make sure that he brings to the finish line. Suns in 7. I'm going Suns in 7.
Okay.
Right. As long as he keep that mouth covered, I guess. There you go, Clippers. Me and Drew go around with the Clippers and Bucks matchup. Josh got the Bucks and Suns. So I'm not mad either way, though. I'm not mad either way. So let's see how it goes. But enjoy those conference games. Enjoy the lottery revealing tomorrow, and we'll be back. Catch us on these online streets. And in the meantime, keep bouncing.